Hi everyone, your OD girl again from Spire OD. I'm going to dive back into the OD cycle and talk about phase 2. So in the last video, we finished by saying a preliminary contract should be agreed to move into the next phase of the cycle or the process, which moves us nicely into phase 2, which is the diagnosis or diagnostic phase, which is the fact-finding phase. What I like to call it is the fact-finding mission. So in this fact-finding mission, you've got to realise that it can't be done alone and not by one person. For any OD change work or intervention to be a success in this phase, you firstly need to ask who needs to be involved from the beginning, who has to be informed of anything, and actually who needs to be engaged with this piece of work, because the end game should always be at the forefront of your mind. And what that end game is a successful change piece of work where everyone's engaged with it throughout, it's accepted and it's implemented as part of the organisation's culture, and it's actually the people of the organisation that'll make that happen. So you'll need to collaborate with key stakeholders to collect crucial data about the challenge or the situation, analyse it, and then review it with those relevant stakeholders. But not only that, it's about ensuring that all the different stakeholders are fully engaged in this diagnosis phase, and it's the support that from them is what you're going to need to make this change happen. You're going to be dealing with a mix of people who are going to have varying perceptions on change, so you do need to take that into consideration. But when we talk about the diagnosis or the diagnostic phase, I like to break that down into two sections. One is the data collection and one is data analysis. So with that data collection or gathering, that is your first key area here. So I've covered data in OD in another video, so it actually might be worth watching that video before you watch the rest of this video. So I'll move on to this data collection. It's going to be about getting a good mix of measurable qualitative and quantitative data and information. The data is going to build up a picture for you of the issue at hand, so different modes and methods need to be used to ensure that it's robust and it's valued to be able to move this piece of work forward, and that it can actually give everyone the confidence that this change piece of work is actually necessary. So once you've gathered that data and information, your analysis of it is going to hold a mirror up or shine a light on any gaps, key themes and common trends within the organisation. This is where, when you analyse it, there's some questions that you need to ask and consider. And these are, what is making sense in your findings? Is there anything that's contradicting itself? What are the obvious gaps? And what key themes are coming out? I mentioned earlier in this phase, it can't be done alone. An analysis of the data sets needs to be done with a team. And really, it should be those people that you've collaborated with in gathering this data, because they've been involved from the start. You'll need to work together on who analyses that data and actually how you join up and bring this data together, because like I said before, there's going to be different modes and methods that you're using. The main aim of this, though, is to be able to tell a story about what's going on so that it can be understood by all of the stakeholders in the organisation. And with the right team, that is actually possible. So by this stage of that data collection and analysis, you should really be able to summarise what you've found, which moves you into phase 3. But before we even talk about that in another video, I just want to highlight a couple of things. A really key element to remember is that those individuals that you'll be interacting with and collaborating with when you're collecting and analysing the data are actually a data source in themselves. So the OD change work might directly or indirectly impact them in some way. So you need to be fully aware of the ethics of collecting information with and from people. You want to consider in this part of your thinking process, what will be the adverse effects of this change, and is it actually going to cause more ill will than is justified? So when you're on your fact-finding mission, you do need to evaluate the advantages and disadvantages of change work and really consider, like yourself or for the organisation, is this change just happening for the name's sake, or is it really essential? And it should be the latter that you should be heading towards. So there's a lot to think about when we're talking about the diagnosis phase, and there is a lot to achieve. But spending a lot of time and effort here in this phase in particular will have a real big impact on the progression of the change work. So I hope that's broken down phase 2 as much as possible and captured the essence of it. And I hope you've enjoyed watching the video, and look out for the next video of the OD cycle.